What's up, y'all? We're gonna let a couple people more join in, and then we'll get started here in a couple minutes. We're just letting everyone into the room, so. How you doing, Art?
Thumbs up si te escuchan nomás. Tell them to give you a thumbs up if they listen, if they can hear. Robert, can you ask?
Yeah. Can you hear me there? Thumbs up if you could hear me, Art. Anybody? There you go. There you go. He got it. Thumbs up.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Just making sure Saulo knows what he's doing. It's his first time doing this, so bear with me, guys. A couple more people joining on. All right, we're gonna get started, guys. I know we got a big game tonight. Spurs game starts, even though it's a late game, I feel like we still gotta get situated. So we'll run through the slides. Everyone's gonna be on mute for the majority of the slides. Then we'll open it up at the end for questions. We'll have the chat group going, so we'll be able to answer any questions. If you do have any questions that come up during the webinar, feel free to throw them in there. You don't have to wait till the end, and then we'll go back at the end and kind of answer everyone's questions as best possible. Let's see. All right. Let's get started. First off, guys, let me thank my sponsors. So we got a few sponsors up there that are on the front page. We have New World Title. As you guys know, New World Title is here locally. We're going on 2 years strong, and they are taking the industry by force, guys. If you have not met with a New World Title rep, reach out to us and we'll get you connected. Gabe Gonzalez is a VP, and he's the one that kind of coordinates and kind of is your go-to guy. Another name up there is going to be New Sure Insurance Group. So they are a sister company of New World Title. This class kind of goes hand in hand with them, because obviously on a mortgage payment, you're going to have taxes and insurance included in your payment. So if you could get your taxes down, that's awesome. But imagine if you could get your insurance down as well. New Sure Insurance will put their info on the group chat, on the chat box. That way you have them. Gabby and Eddie, they're great resources to you guys, and I hope you guys could help them, not only for you guys, or if you guys are realtors or regular homeowners. These guys are your go-to for all insurance need. Helotes Property Management, as you know, that's a property management company that we have internally at Xsellence Realty. We're managing just under 300 properties, and believe it or not, this is one of the main reasons that got me into protesting taxes. We do it on behalf of our Helotes property management clients, and this is something that we've been doing for well over 10 years. So we go down, we know the properties better than anybody. These are rental properties, and this is something that kind of opened the door for us in this whole tax protesting era. Now, we manage about 300. Maybe I would say at any given point, you know, we do have some owners that manage their own that protest their own taxes, but we do it for the majority of it. So we've done going plus 10 years and you know, going in there to the county with 300-400 sometimes at a time, because it's not only their properties, they have their friends and family. So we've done it a lot of times, well over 1,000 protests that we've done. So this whole presentation was built around that. It's stuff that we've actually used, that we've done it not only for our personal properties, for our clients, for our friends. This is something that we really like it, because we really like seeing the clients save, you know, money. And it's nothing against the county and what they're trying to do. We get the whole system, how it works is taxes is how a lot of stuff gets done here in the city, whether it be you know, the roads and what schools and all that other good stuff. And we totally get that. And our main argument is we just want to make sure that the property appraisal that they're saying it's worth is actually worth that amount. They do get it wrong a lot of times. They do get it, you know, for the past 10 years, I've noticed that it's been maybe about 80% of the protests that we go down there, they're in the wrong. When I say when they're in the wrong, is that they have the wrong valuation. So that's a big number to have. 80% and being incorrect is not something that anybody should be proud of. And our job is just kind of little by little, like I said, we've done thousands of them, but we figured if we teach other people how to do it, they could continue doing it and making that impact and making sure that they're getting taxed on what their property is actually worth and not what the county thinks it's worth. So we'll get going with the slides. Just a quick overview as far as what we're going to talk about. The first slide. So this is what you'll learn in the class in today's webinar. It's going to be file on time and the fastest way to submit. There's a couple ways to submit. I'm going to go over that. What photos and documents actually help. We've done it all. We've taken all different formats and different types of photos, different angles, and we kind of have a good grip on what works. How to get credible repair estimates. This is big because we've noticed that going in there with inflated repair estimates for cost of repairs, it doesn't go in your favor. Using BCAT evidence and real comps to set value. This is big because this is something that they have to do. And I'll show you a little tip here on how you get that done. And then navigating informal versus formal hearings confidently. So if you don't come to an agreement in the informal, then unfortunately you do have to go to the formal hearing. This is a little bit more intense, and this is something that you want to try to avoid. So you want to be able to be prepared enough to knock it out in the informal hearing. So let's get started. And people are still coming on, and we'll let them. And then, like I said, guys, if you guys have any questions that you come up with, throw them in the chat, and then we'll address them here towards the end. The first one. So first slide is going to be file on time. This is big. This is something that gets past a lot of people. If you haven't received your notice of appraisal yet in the mail, then that's something you may want to reach out to them. Today being May the 4th, it's only about 11 days away. Now, if you haven't received it for whatever reasons, issues in the mail, and if you could have proof of it, then all you have to do is show them the proof, and they will extend that 30 days past when you actually received it. They have sometimes some glitches in their mailing system that some subdivisions or some streets don't go out. So if that is to happen, then you do have 30 days of when you receive the notice. For everyone else that's gotten it, it's May 15th, and they are pretty stern on that. They rarely make exceptions unless it's something that, death in the family, illness, or something very, very, very serious. They try to keep it all streamlined at May 15th across the board. So don't take that lightly. Start preparing. You still have time. You have a lot of time to still file, and I'll show you a couple ways. My personal favorite method, if you're just doing your personal one, your house, you're not doing your friends, families, or other people's, the easiest and best way to do it is to do it online, guys. This you could do the day before. I have people that go on there on May 14th, and they knock it out online. So you do have to go to bcat.org, and you do have to create an account, and it's pretty simple to navigate through. And then in order to file your actual notice of protest, you have to have your agent ID and your PIN number. So where that comes from is going to be from your actual tax appraisal. So if you haven't gotten your tax appraisal, don't waste your time going online because you won't be able to get past the step of filing your actual protest. So again, if you haven't got it in the mail, reach out to BCAD. They're more than happy to get it to you one way or another. Then that's when the 30 days will start for you. So you still have time to figure out if you want to protest. I highly recommend protesting every year, even if it doesn't go up. Some people say, well, mine didn't go up, I'm not gonna protest it. But what happens is in subdivisions where everybody protests, everybody's gonna bring it down, and you're gonna be the only one staying at the higher value. And reason for that is because you didn't protest. So make sure and protest every year. It gives you a shot to either bring your payment down or keep it the same. So highly recommend it, regardless if it's every year. I have some people that say, well, you know what, I'm gonna do it every other year. That's fine, just do it consistently. Don't let it get away. There's been times where if you don't file for a while, you get that shock, email or you shock in the mail that appraisal where it increases so much that it's so hard to get it back down. So I'm gonna pull up right now in a little bit an example of the notice to protest, but on there, as you can see, the check boxes to mark is big. There's something on there on the checkbox where you have to check it in order for them to give you an actual evidence packet. The evidence packet is pretty much how they came up with your value. So I'm pretty sure you guys want to see that, because I mean, without that, you're kind of going into it blind. So seeing what they have, it's kind of like you're going into a fight. You're seeing how what weapons that other guy has, or what he's bringing to the fight. You never want to go in there, not knowing what's going to happen. So looking at that evidence packet is highly recommended. And then final submission. So let me go ahead and pull up that notice of protest form so you guys could look at it real fast and understand what I'm talking about as far as what boxes to check. And I'll run through it real quickly. And we could send this out. This is on bcad.org. It's real simple. But if you notice on the top right, they have those two red boxes where it says evidence requested. That's what you're wanting to make sure and check. Now, if you don't check that box, they're not going to send you the evidence packet. They'll still set you up for your hearing, so you'll show up and you could get it scheduled and get it all done. But you're not going to know what comps they use to value your home. Everything else on this form is very general information that you should have. You have your property address, your name. If you have any exemptions, for example, the 65 or older, that's something you want to check on there. They have all the exemptions on there, so make sure if you do have one of those that you want to check them. Now, going towards the bottom and at the kind of in the middle of the page, it's gonna, in section 3, it's gonna ask you reason for protest. This is sometimes could be confusing, and you start thinking, well, why am I protesting it? My main one that I check regardless, no matter what, is always going to be the first one, which is incorrect appraised market value and or value is unequal compared with other properties. So this is the easiest one to check, and that's going to get you in the door, get you in the hearing. But there is some other ones. There's some other ones on there, like towards the bottom it says exemption was denied, modified, or canceled. So if there's something along with exemptions on the property, that'd be something that you check off. There's another one that says a failure to send required notice. So for example, you didn't get the actual notice. So there's different ones, guys, but regardless, if you're gonna be protesting it, you're gonna check, 99% of the time, you're gonna check box 1, which is the incorrect appraised market value. That's the one that's gonna get you in the door and get your hearing scheduled. At the bottom, right there on section 4, it's gonna say how you wanna do it. So they have a few different ways. I used to be the type that used to love going in person, meeting the appraiser, shaking their hand, kind of, seeing, how it's all going to lay out. Ever since COVID, though, as you guys know, they shifted everything to Zoom. So a lot of it now is done Zoom. They also do telephone conference. So if you don't have access to a computer where you can do video conference, you could easily do a telephone conference. And they have the panels as well that you could get down to the later in the formal hearings. But in person is great, Zoom is awesome, and telephone gets the job done. So whichever ones you guys prefer, there's no wrong way. Make sure all of this is signed at the bottom. There's signature lines where you have to print your name and sign your name and date it. The date's gonna be the big one, because if there's ever a question as far as what date that this get filed, they're gonna go by this date. So you wanna make sure and get this done. Now, again, none of this form will look a lot different if you do it online. So if you go online and you do it, through your online ID, it'll be a lot easier to navigate. But overall, it's the same information you're gonna need. Moving on to the next one. So the next slide, we're gonna talk about my favorite way of how to go in there, and it's pretty much there's two different angles that you could take when you're protesting your taxes. The first one's going to be the CMA, the comps, and how they value it. But the main one that a lot of people overlook and a lot of people really don't know about is going to be in regards to the repairs. This is something that I learned while I was doing it for my property management clients. As I told you guys, these are rental properties that we're going on behalf of them. Our main argument was just straight up telling them like, hey, you're taxing us like a property that has granite countertops, tile floors and whatnot. And our rental properties have Formica counters and linoleum floors. So very big difference in the comps, and that itself would throw them off. And this is something that I would go in first is with the repairs, because if you could get them, let them know that you're serious and let them know that you're, looking for a good reduction. I think this is the first step. Towards the end of the slides, I'll show you a little bit more about the CMA and how the comps come into play. But for right now, just focusing on the repairs is key. The repairs is a lot of the stuff that people don't understand, that the county doesn't have access to the inside of your home, guys. They don't know what you have. They don't know if you have marble floors or gold fixtures. They don't know that, and it's up to you to kind of inform them and make sure that they're taxing your property the way they should. Now, a lot of stuff is going to be preventative maintenance. As you could imagine, the county, when they're pulling the comparable sales, they're going to pull the highest ones. The highest ones are going to have the nicest stuff in it, though. They're the ones that are going to, have the LVP floors, that are going to have, the upgraded ACs, all of that other stuff that comes with a home selling at the top of the value. So with you going in there, whether it's a rental property or personal property, no one knows it better than you guys. So you want to make sure and document everything that not only that you've done, but that needs to get done. I've seen repairs the biggest one is flooring. Flooring, and then it goes over to the kitchens and to the bathrooms. Now, the reason I say flooring is because the flooring is the easiest one to document. Literally, you could take a picture and it shows so much, right? And it's very simple. It's either carpet, tile, or LVP, which is the vinyl plank. There is some other kind of flooring, but those are going to be the most popular ones. So it's the easiest one for them to determine a value. Now, if you start thinking about kitchens, kitchens are big. Nowadays, granite has become more popular. So a lot of people do have granite already in their house. But if you don't have granite, that's an easy deduction that they give you just based off the type of countertops that you have. Appliances are big as well. And again, this is something that if you guys have been thinking of updating your appliances and you're thinking maybe, hey, we're going to get brand new appliances, take the time, take some pictures, document it, and just have that ready to go so that when you do go to your appraisal, at least you'll have that updated. Now, you're not going to be able to use that every year, but at least for that 1 year, I mean, if you are having, outdated stuff and certain items that need repairs, then might as well take pictures of them and have them ready to go for your hearing. You want to put dates in them as well. So nowadays they have timestamps when you could take timestamp photos. There's an app on Apple that you could easily download for free. It's something that really does help you show the appraiser like, hey, this is active, this is right now type of deal. One of the tactics that a lot of people used to do back in the day would take old pictures or pictures that weren't even from their house, and at some point, the appraisers will catch on. So by you having timestamp photos, it really does go a long way because you're showing the appraiser that you're serious and that this stuff is actually needed in your house. So I'm gonna pull up some photos just to kind of show you. These are old photos. And this is just stuff, just kind of, these are from the MLS, so some of them may be a little bit, they shrink them and pixelize, so it's a little bit, but you could see the basics. The front of the house you're showing just to kind of show the property that you're at, so you're not, poking their eyes with a different property. But then you look at the other pictures, you have some rotted wood, you have some carpet in the living room, and you have some Formica countertops that you could easily point out. So those are things that you want to have on there. Now, one thing I will tell you about these photos nowadays is they are expecting more high quality photos. These are the ones, if you see the picture, these were used back in 2018, 2019. So these are a little bit older than they should be. So a couple more pictures that I have here is going to be, again, you could see the linoleum floors, just basic pictures. You could see the rotted wood on the roof, on the eave. And then you can see like the trees overhanging as well. Let's see.
That's it?
Moving on to the next slide, guys, and this is something big. So being in the property management and just being in the real estate, we do have access to a lot of contractors and a lot of vendors that have really helped us. This is something that we've used to our advantage by having them provide quotes and giving us pricing on these repairs, because you might have a number in mind and the appraiser might have a number in mind. The last thing you want is to be going back and forth on that figure. So by you going in there with an actual amount written by a professional, and I put licensed because some of the stuff that they do look for, like on the HVAC, on the water heater, stuff of that sort that requires an actual license, you do want to get someone licensed. But for other stuff like flooring, paint, more cosmetic stuff, countertops, you don't need a license for that. So you don't have to have obviously a licensed professional for that. Now, what are you gonna? And so a lot of people, some people will have access to contractors that will go out there and do this. I mean, as a favor. It does get old though. I mean, this is something that you got to understand. It is the contractor's time and you know, as well. So you don't want to take advantage of that. What we usually do is if we have a contractor going to a property to maybe, I don't know, doing a repair, whether it be changing out the garbage disposal or just something, we'll kindly ask them, hey, while you're out there, can you give me a pricing on this, on what you would charge me if I was to get that done? That itself, guys, you could document it, you could have it, and that's something that you could show up to your hearing with. Now, and the reason I tell you this is because you're gonna, if you're doing it over and over, you're gonna get the contractors frustrated that you're just getting pricing and you're never actually doing any work, or you know, getting them to do any work, and then you just kind of lose that relationship. So you don't want to do that either. But if you do have contractors that are going to your house to do work regardless, we've done it with lawn guys. The guys that cut the lawns, we say, hey, how much will you charge us to trim all those trees off the roof, or whatever it may be, anything related to landscaping. It doesn't take them much. They're already giving you the invoice anyway, so might as well, you know, have that documented and put away for when you do need it up for these hearings. So it's something that it goes a long ways when you have another third party saying it. It's not just you going back and forth with the appraiser, which tends to kind of sometimes create some argument. You know, so if you have that, that's kind of like the proof there, and it kind of it solidifies your case. So making sure you have that documented, and a good scope of work too, of what they're gonna do, what you know, what the labor is, and what the whole total cost is, will go a long ways. So so again, you're sitting there with the appraiser, whether it's Zoom or you're in a phone call. You're talking to them about repairs. You're telling them, hey, my flooring is this. This is, you know, going back and forth on different stuff. If you are a realtor, you're going to be pretty well versed in the real estate market, so you can throw in there your expertise as well and let them know what that actually looks like, what upgraded house does sell for, and what, you know, your property should value. Now, one thing that I did, I kind of skipped on, and I was so excited to get straight to the repairs, because this is something that has really helped us more. Now, anybody can knock down some off the appraisal, but if you want to get a significant amount, this is the way you're going to get the most out of it, is the repairs. But one thing I did want to mention is going into this hearing, once it is scheduled, you have to go in with a number in mind. So you have to go with that number. If they're valuing your property at, I don't know, $300,000, you have to have a realistic number that you could go in there, because you may not even have to present your whole case. We've walked into certain appraisals and we say, hey, you're valuing it at 300, we think it's 240, what do you think? Sometimes they say, yeah, we'll sign off on it, let's get it going and moving along. So to save you all the trouble of having to go out through this, this might be something that works to your benefit, is going into these appointments with already a number in mind, a realistic number. Some people have the whole start low and meet in the middle. You could do that as well. I mean, I always went with a solid number that the appraiser had no doubt that it was reasonable appraisal for that property. So moving along, this is just finished talking about documenting repairs, getting contractor. So now we're moving over to step 4, which is what I was talking about in regards to the evidence and comps. So the BCAT evidence report, I'm going to show you an example. Actually, Saulo, if you could throw that on there so we could show them what it looks like. And it pretty much looks like an appraisal. It gives you all the details. That's the front slide. If you keep moving it, it'll show you the other comps and what they're using. One more, it shows you a little bit more. So they get pretty detailed as far as repairs. This is a rental property, so they were doing the income calculation worksheet. So for you guys that are protesting rental properties, just be aware that they do go off the rent as well. Next one is, there you go. So that's a comp that they use. It tells you where it's at. It tells you everything from the property ID. If you guys need to look it up on BCAD, you could easily go that route. But pretty much you're seeing what they're comparing your property to and why they're saying it's worth that amount. You could then go back and forth and say, well, this property has this and this one doesn't have that. And again, this goes back to the whole, they don't know what's inside your house type of deal. So you're able to, have that upper hand on that argument. So next one is going to show you the next comps, some more comps on there. And it shows you all the comps that they pulled up to value your property. This was a multifamily property, so it had a little bit more details as far as taxes and insurance. But for square footage, on the single family, it's pretty cut dry. It's just square footage and sold price. And then they show you the market sales. So they're telling you every time, everywhere where they're getting their data, guys. So it's something that you guys need to go in there. If you're not a real estate professional, if you're just a regular homeowner on this call, then you could easily reach out to your favorite realtor. Tell them, hey, what did 6502 Spring Branch look like on the inside? Get that MLS listing, look at the inside, and that's something that you could also, argue. If you're a realtor, you could dive more deep into it and do your comps and kind of really, really go against these figures that they're providing for you. So it's really, between the repairs and then jumping into the comps, this is something that you shouldn't have the appraiser going back and asking why you think that value is. And again, it goes back to the beginning of figuring out what's your realistic goal on that, what's your value range. You could go in with an exact number, or you could just go with an actual number. Any deduction is great, but a solid one that'll get your, we're looking at anywhere between 15 to 20,000 off your appraisal is a great victory for your tax protesting. There's some appraisers that you walk in there and they will automatically do the whole 10,000 off right off the bat. Some people take it, some people don't. We're more about, getting a realistic number. Now, if your house is already kind of valued on the lower end at the county, then that 10,000 may be good enough to get your house back to where it's valued and what an accurate value is. So having that realistic number, guys, goes a long way. So on the next one, we'll talk about what it actually entails and what the hearings, how it works. Again, we kind of talked about the different ways as far as how you present the evidence. I personally like going in person just because you could, talk to the appraiser, you can meet them and kind of work through it. I do show up with a lot of different appraisals that we're doing. So the meeting that we sit down is it could be hours sometimes, where if you're going as a regular homeowner, you could just be there for 10, 15 minutes, be in and out. So just depending on how you want to do it. If you do want to do Zoom, that's another way you could do it. I just feel like sometimes translating the information through Zoom is a little bit difficult. Some appraisers, what they'll do is they'll ask you for you to email them all your information, and then that way they have it on the call. Again, that's just something that it's up to how you prefer to go back and forth with the appraisal with the appraiser. Now, if there's no agreement made on your formal hearing, it does have to get escalated over to the formal one. So if there's no agreement on the informal, then it gets escalated to the formal. The formal is going to be a little bit more intense. I highly recommend it. Highly recommend just making a deal on the informal. This will help you out because there's times where you could go to the actual formal one, and they have more research and more data and more firepower against you that it may hurt you. So if you could come to an agreement, and this is something that the county really pushes for too, on the formal hearing, they do have a panel. So it is 3 to 4 people that sit on there, and it's a little bit of a different approach. So you do have the panel that's kind of overlooking everything, and then you and the appraiser are going back and forth. And it's up to that panel to figure out who they thought was, who has a better case. I like handling it at the informal just because I feel like between me and the appraiser alone could figure it out. But if it does come to it and you have to go to the actual formal one with the panel, just be prepared. Again, if you're not in real estate, if you're a regular homeowner, reach out to your favorite realtor to make sure that they give you all the firepower to go in there, not only with the comps, but with strategies. Strategies in the sense of what are actual upgrades costing. So county might think that if you have granite, if you have this, it's going to be a higher amount, when in reality it might be the norm already. So it's not that much of an increase. Reach out to a local expert that knows the market there in your neighborhood. That way you're going in there. So, but to sum that up, try at your hardest to avoid going to the formal. This is something that benefits everybody. You get your point across, and it's something that you could easily come out with better success and knocking more off your actual appraisal. On the next slide, we'll talk about what to bring. And again, I'm going in the angle that we're actually meeting with them, and we are giving this to them, I guess, in person. So the repair photos, this is you have them already, you're ready to go. The contractor estimates, kind of supporting the photos and showing what the costs are to actually do it. Then the comp summary, all of that kind of comes into play and your argument as to far as what's your value target. So what is something that you're wanting, what range are you wanting to be in? This is something that you have to have going in, and you got to stick to it, and you got to be firm on it. But you got to prove your case to them. And I like starting off with the repair photos first. That kind of sets a tone, and then finishing it off with the comp summary. So whichever way you feel more comfortable, if you feel like the comps are more favorable to your case, and start with the comps and then go in with the repairs. The repairs happen to just give us the most success on this. We've had properties where we've been in the appraisal, and we on comps have knocked it down already about 10,000, 10, 15,000, but then we come in with the repairs, and that really, the pictures say a lot. And once that appraiser sees that those, the lack of upgrades or the lack of maintenance, and they really, come down and are able to come to terms with you on a better valuation. Now, it's kind of weird because you're pretty much downgrading your house. So you're talking smack about your own house, but at the end of the day, you're just fighting to get your property taxed like what it is. There's a lot of stuff that has to be done, and especially in older houses, everything from rotted wood to one of the biggest ones is the roofs. So the roofs are big, and as you guys know now, with all the technology that's out there, these appraisers have access to Google Maps. So they log on Google Maps, and they have their computers on during these appraisals. So they have their laptops out, and they're able to access everything from Zillow to I've seen them log on to Zillow. I've seen them log on to the county website. I've seen them log on to Google Maps, where they'll pull it up and they'll question saying that, oh, you have a picture here with an old roof, but Google Maps shows that you have a brand new roof. So a lot of different stuff that you got to understand. And it's not only what to bring, it's what to expect. These appraisers have access to, like I said, all this stuff that we have access to. And sometimes they have started even getting into the AI space. This is going to be the first one that we're going into that I feel like AI is at the highest. So I'm curious to see what tools they're going to use as far as how to value your property. So just be prepared. A lot of times we think, even us in the real estate industry think that we have the upper hand just going in, but that's not the case. The one thing that we do have the upper hand, though, is what's actually inside our property, because that's something that they don't have access to. So if you could document those repairs, get a contractor to kind of put the stamp on that, that really does help you going into these. So kind of final tips just to kind of think, and then we'll talk about going into the chat box for questions. I see questions coming in. So if you haven't had your question in, feel free to put it in, guys. We'll be jumping into the question section right now. Final tips and then we'll go to the Q&A. So first off, be on time. This is something for your appointment. Always be on time. Be polite. Be polite. These guys are people too. A lot of times people go in there with the intentions of being, to want to argue, and that's not the case. I met a lot of great appraisers, from rookie ones to veterans, and they all have the same goal, guys, and it's to make sure that the client or the consumer, you guys, is getting the right value. So don't go in there wanting to argue right off. Back in the day, I haven't seen it in a while, but back in the day, they would actually have Bexar County sheriffs there standing at the waiting room. So don't be that guy that gets pulled, gets let out in handcuffs from your tax appraisal meeting. It's really not that serious. But if you go prepared, you lead with a different mindset, and I feel like that will get you better value on your appraisal. So lead with facts, and kind of just touching on that, leave emotions out. These guys, when you provide the facts, when you provide, that third-party quote or that third-party invoice or that third-party estimate, that really goes a long ways, and that we really, put them in a corner. They don't really have anywhere to go. And then ask and understand for that evidence packet. So that evidence packet is something that you definitely want to look over a few times before going into your hearing, because you want to see what they're going to compare it to. Now, in my experience, I've seen them always reference certain ones. So you want to make sure on that evidence packet and make sure and get familiar with the streets. They do it usually within the same subdivision. So if you live on, I don't know, 123 Main Street, it's probably going to be one right around the corner. They're not going to pick one, if you live in Alamo Heights, they're not going to pick one in Converse. It's going to be something that you're familiar with. So knowing kind of like those different comps and just kind of seeing what they look like will also go away a long way. But if you have your favorite realtor, you could reach out to them and let them know, hey, what do you think about these houses? Give me a quick, breakdown as far as why they're different in value. So this is something that if you do it right, if you do it consistently, you could always not have to worry and wonder what your mortgage payment is going to go in, what's it going to go up to. You'll always know you'll have a grip on that. The last thing you want is to get that notice in the mail saying that your mortgage payment is going up $300-400, and it does happen. It's happened to us personally, and it's something that you want to make sure and be prepared. That way, you're able to kind of control the situation and get it back to regular. And again, another thing, if you haven't already, is your insurance, since most mortgage payments include taxes and insurance. So again, we'll open it up to the Q&A, and then we'll start answering some questions. Let's see. Let's go to the top. CD, Mr. CD, which repairs are allowed? Missing doors, holes in walls, broken HVAC. Yeah, so what we usually do is a lot of the houses that they're comparing it to are almost houses that have been prepared to sell. So if you could compare it to a home that's prepared to sell, and you could easily, if you walk through your house and say, hey, if I was to sell the house, what would I do to upgrade it? Bam, that's your first picture. Most people will go to the floor because that's where you're standing. Usually you look down the floor, say flooring's the first one. If you already have upgraded floors, awesome. One of the other things that they that they give you a lot of value for is wood rot. I've seen wood rot is something that is big in older homes, and this is we've used it to our advantage. It's just one of those things that a lot of people just don't get to. It's not something that's their first top of mind. Everything from the restrooms to the kitchens, that's where they spend the most time. So that's the stuff that gets addressed the quickest and always, but the little stuff that you got to think, like the mindset you pretty much got to be in is like, what would I do if I was to sell the house? Because remember, the comps that they're pulling up on that evidence packet are going to have that. One thing that caught me off guard that I didn't know, and that I was very shocked, is one thing that they don't look at is fences. So fences aren't allowed. This is something that, for whatever reason, they don't take into value. Holes in walls, they do. Broken HVAC, yes, that's a big one. If you don't have a broken one, at least you could document the age of them. So if you take a picture of the serial number showing the date of installation, that goes a long ways, because a lot of realtors in their property descriptions, they'll go and put brand new AC, just got replaced. So then between comparison of your AC showing early 2000s and that other comp showing a brand new AC, that itself should give some value or some devaluing of it. So great question though, CD. Rob Guzman, my favorite realtor now, broker associate Erica. Yes, Erica, congrats on your broker's license. That's awesome. CD, another question. Appraiser told me maintenance is something that we are supposed to keep up with, so he couldn't use repair costs and determine the home's value. So this is true to a point. This is to a point where when you keep protesting it year after year, yes, they're going to be like, hey, buddy, this is something that that you should at some point get done, or they can't be doing it every year. Now, the first one they will give you, but after that, it is something, and they do take notes on what the reason is. So one of the things that they document very, very well is the reasoning behind the deduction of value. So there is a section on the form that you sign, the agreement, and it'll tell you why. It'll tell you either maintenance, repairs, or value, whatever it is. They do give you a reason. So next year, when you go and file your protest, they could easily pull up and say, "Hey, last year I gave this guy already for upgrades and stuff like that." So they do know what you're dealing with. So if you are going to do it every year, just be prepared. My thing is, don't do everything all at once. Kind of mix it in. One year do the flooring, next year do the whatever's in trend, whatever's whatever properties are doing to get the highest value. That's what you kind of want to put it into your case. So. Can you win every year? Yes, you can. There's been times even if it's $1,000, but definitely you could win every year, and it all comes down to the proof. The contractor thing, guys, is a game changer. That really helped, just because it was something from actual pricing, actual scope of work. I mean, they can't argue with that. So good stuff on that. Julio Cesar. He said, "This is a great class. Are you able to get this information so we know what to present?" Yeah, so we are going to be sharing these slides. Everybody that RSVP'd will get a copy of these slides, and we'll get the information as well. We're working on getting the recording as well. So for sure, we'll get it. And then I will recap and let you guys know as a follow-up, where we could either get together, talk. If you guys want to know more about it, I'll be available, and I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. Is there a statute of limitations to protesting your property taxes? Not that I know of. I mean, this is something that they've been doing forever. I think as long as the valuation is the process is done, then it's something that it's always gonna happen. Does this information apply to other Texas counties? Great question. For the most part, it does. If you guys have logged on to different county websites, you'll notice that they all kind of use the same software. So if you go to Comal County, if you go to Atascosa, different counties, they all kind of look the same. They use the same template. So for the most part, they all have the same forms. So I'm talking about Central and South Texas. That's kind of like the only ones I've really researched. I haven't gone up north to Dallas area and seen how they're doing it up there. But for sure, I know Central, South Texas, they use the same platform, the same forms, and same process. Most of them even have the same date, which is May 15th. So. What about using your equity packet? So equity pack, I mean, you could for sure use that. Whatever angle is going to help you determine the value. I mean, I had one where we had just done a refinance of an office, actually our personal office space. They were valuing it about $200,000 higher than what the appraiser had done it just off a recent refinance. So when I went in, I showed them the actual appraisal, and they were, they had no argument. This is something that they had to. It was an easy slam dunk. So if you do have anything from a third party showing the value, you could go and use that as well. So why do you recommend protesting your taxes every year? I think I mentioned it earlier, Erica, but one of the main things is because what if all your people in your subdivision are protesting it? They're consistently lowering it down. The ones that don't, they're not going to lower it down just for you. So you want to make sure and always try to have that best value. And always just be in the know. I mean, this is this is one of your biggest, though this is your biggest asset for most people. So it's almost always knowing the value of it and knowing what it actually should be taxed against. So do they take account for your next neighbor having a rundown property next door, or do they only focus on your house? That's a great question, Joshua. And it's really not a rundown neighbor situation that I used it, but I did use it on a property that backed up to almost like a chemical plant. They had like power lines and all this crazy stuff up there. And our argument was, if I was to go list my house, or list this property, there's no way I could get that actual value, like the property, 3 streets down that doesn't back up to it. And it worked. So we haven't necessarily used the whole next door neighbor having to run the house, but I could tell you they do consider a location. We've also done one where it backed up to a drainage ditch that was consistently flooded. That brought a lot of mosquitoes. It brought a lot of stuff that people didn't want to be around, So that affects the value. So, it's only fair that they tax you for an amount that you would be able to get, if they're calling it an appraisal, they're pretty much saying it's worth that much, and you wouldn't be able to get that in the open market. So I would try it. I definitely would try it. Maybe take pictures of angles from your actual house, showing that neighbor's house. What we did is we did the back of our house. We literally stood at the back door, opened the windows, and took a picture and showed all that chemical, those power lines in the back. And that was, even the appraiser, I remember saying like, man, I wouldn't live here. Like, it's something that once you put it more into perspective, they definitely, they're people, they see it and they work with you on that. But that's a good one. Erica, you said the same thing. What if your property backs up to commercial property, including apartment complexes? That's a very good point. This is something very similar to like the one I was just saying. It's just something that it doesn't sell the same as another property around the corner that doesn't. So for sure, I would document that as well. What does your company need if your company is doing the protest? So there is a form that we have. So the form that we went over was the notice of protest. That's for you guys just telling the county, hey guys, I want to file my protest. Now there is another form which is called the agent of record. So the agent one is the one where you go and you assign someone to do it on your behalf. If, for example, if I was to do it on your behalf, this is a form that I would send to you and say, hey, fill it out. And pretty much you're giving me access to being able to go and fight these taxes on your behalf. So great questions, great questions. We are at just about under an hour. I have a couple more minutes. I did want to, Sal, if you could put up for that event. We do have an event coming up, guys. New World Title is hosting this event on Thursday. I will be here, and I would love to talk to you guys. If you guys have any more questions, more in-person type thing, whatever you want to know, how, maybe past experiences, if you guys are doing it on your own, or if you're doing it for other people. Like we have always said, Vanessa and I, we're an open book. We'll tell you how it is. Sometimes I know these webinars are great. It's great to reference to, but in person might be better for you guys. And I'm totally down for that as well, to answer any questions in person. So this Thursday we'll be there 4 to 7. It's a real estate networking event. But yeah, feel free to show up and we could talk some tax protesting and have a cigar and hopefully I could answer your questions and bring value, guys. I mean, this is something that we saw the value from our investor clients and seeing how much they were saving. There were some clients when we did it for their first time, they saved, a big amount, and which actually, Nadine, I love how, no problem, you know it. Rob Guzman, what's a typical cost to have a company do the protest? Another great question. So it's not always about what they charge you guys. So there's some people that charge you very minimal, but they deduct very minimal. So it's like, is it even worth it at that point? So just to kind of lay it out there, there's some companies that will do it for 25% of whatever they knock off. So if your house is 100,000, they knock off 10,000. They do a percentage off of that, but that kind of defeats the purpose. I'd rather go with the one that may charge me a little bit more, but that are going to knock off the 50, 60,000. These are the guys that have been in this industry, that know how to do it, that know what to look for. But not only that, the people that have the relationships down at the county, guys, because a lot of this is relationship, and a lot of it is, being able to push your point across in the right way. We personally charge, if you're interested, shoot me a message and I'll get you that details, or show up on Thursday and we'll talk a little bit more. But we do it for, I think this year we'll probably be in the 300 range of clients that we're going to be doing it on their behalf. So we do high volume, and that does tend to help. On the average, we're anywhere between 20 to 30,000 off the appraisal price. I think that's a good solid appraisal. We've gotten some in the 60,000, 70,000 range as well. But I mean, it should be something that even if it's 1,000 guys and it's all case by case scenario, your property may already be taxed properly. This is something that the county did their job correctly, and for whatever reason, there might be a lot of solid comps in there. They did their job, so then the only thing you have to argue on that is going to be the condition. That's where you go in with your repairs and whatnot. So there's always reasons to protest, and sometimes the amounts are higher than others, but for the most part, if you do it consistently, I think if you do it consistently, you're at about 10, 15,000, a year. I think you'll be in good shape. Gabby, let's see what you said. What if your property is in a new construction community? So a lot of it too is on new construction. I had a good argument for them, and they were pretty much valuing the property that we're going up against, one that already had a full completed amenity center. So when I say amenity center, is that part of the subdivision, for example, Redbird Ranch. They were doing a comp that was in an area of Redbird Ranch that already had their fully amenity. So they already had their pool, they had their playground, they had their basketball court. which brings more, more marketability for that property. Where the property that we were protesting was brand new. There was nothing. They're still building across the street, and that's actually one of the arguments that we use. Is like, hey, have you ever pulled up to a house and your hammer's still going across the street, and is this something that living in a new construction home, it is what it is. But for the first couple of years, that has been one of my biggest strategies on new construction is like, where is it located in the subdivision? Is the builder already completely out of the subdivision? Is the amenities up? So there's different ways, and the repairs is going to be a little bit tougher. But if you guys are in real estate, you know that sometimes these builders make some pretty big mistakes. So we always recommend a home inspection, even on a new construction home, and that itself could help. I've furnished home inspections for new construction homes and say, hey, look, this is stuff that was on the inspection report when the client bought the house. Just different strategies. There's different ways of approaching it, but there's always a way, and it's really just kind of getting in the mindset and seeing what you're being compared to. Always looking at the evidence packet and just kind of seeing like, why are they valuing it my house like that house, and then just start going off of that. That's something that is big. Contact information is actually going to be, I'll throw it in the chat. It is, you on the chat? 210? I was like, 535 2607. If you shoot me a text there, guys, just let me know that you got my info from here from the webinar. Like I said, Thursday we'll be out at the event. I'm more than happy to talk to you guys about this. We still got time, and May 15th is the deadline, so you still have about, give or take, about 10 days. I personally still haven't even actually filed on our behalf. We'll start doing it this week as well. So just to kind of wrap it up, I want to talk about the expectations as far as timelines. This is something that's big. That way you could set the kind of have that information. And one of the main things is like knowing deadlines and what it's all about. So on the filing of it, it's May 15th. You more than likely won't get scheduled in for a protest hearing until June or July. If you have multiple properties, if you're doing big accounts, if you have, say 5+ properties that you're doing on behalf of others, you're going to be probably closer to late July, even August. I have had hearings all the way up to September. So don't freak out if you don't get notified right away. This is something that just depends on the workload. The smaller amount of properties that you have, the quicker they get you in. So if you're a regular homeowner, you file May 15th, you may have something by June already ready to go. So, but for you guys that are doing on behalf of others, don't be surprised if you get your hearing date for late July, early August. And it could be a little bit nerve-wracking. As you guys know, the final appraisal of your property will be official in November. And that's kind of what gets sent to the mortgage company and what makes your payment either go up or down. So if you're doing tax protesting hearings in September, October, then that is kind of crunch time. So it's good to knock it out in June or July. But just know, even if you do your protest in June or July, the effect won't happen until November. That's when your mortgage company will get the final appraisal, and that's when they'll start doing the taxing of your mortgage payment based off of that. So any more questions? If not, guys, we'll see you on Thursday. Stetson's Toast and Smokes, hosted by New World and Newsure and Helotes Property Management. We'll be there at 1604 in Bandera, guys. Reach out if you guys need anything. Thanks.